All right, 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. Obviously, the mayor is going to be absent today. I'm going to read a letter on his behalf before we get started. Due to a citizen's actions and disruption of a government meeting at the sewer task force meeting on 9/22/2020, the city of Lakeside will have a licensed peace officer at each public meeting. Because of these actions, I will have to have an unbudgeted impact no less than $1,155 per year. We want to remind each individual, community member, or citizen that the meeting will be conducted in a lawful and respectful manner. If a citizen or committee member would like to speak to council, it is required that they sign up prior to the meeting before being called to order. The individual has up to a total of 5 minutes to speak on any topic they would like. However, the city is not able to respond to the individual or the matter discussed at that time. Lakeside City will no longer entertain and have side discussions or disruptions. If the rules and respect for the council chambers cannot be upheld, the individual or individuals disrupting the meeting will be asked to leave. We are disappointed that we have to enforce such strict rules and to incur additional finance burden on the city, but the safety and respect of the chambers is of utmost importance. So with that, we will get the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take the flag.
I want to take the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Prayer. If we can bow our heads. The Lord, I just thank you for this time. Thank you for bringing us here together all safely. I just pray that you just give us wise minds to make wise decisions for the citizens of Lakeside City tonight, and that we keep everyone's best interest at heart. First time we pray, amen.
Thank you.
I will do roll call. Corey Glassburn, mayor, is absent, and Colby Caper.
Here.
And Brett Snowdy is also absent. So, Kim Williams. Here. Will Rutledge.
Here.
And Charlotte Starkrow. And I'm Allison Sanders, the secretary, and Eric Stevens, the city administrator, is also present.
We have citizens' comments.
Yes, Mr. Caper, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people signed up to speak to the council tonight. First off, we got Jerry Bradshaw. Jerry, please stand up to the.
Congratulations.
Your last part. If you stand up to the podium and state your name and your address and speak clearly, we'd appreciate it.
I'm Jerry Bradshaw, I live at 25 Fry, and I would like to thank the sewer task force for all the hard work and long hours that they have dedicated to this sewer issue. I would also like to remind the city council that they're representing the homeowners in their districts on their decisions concerning this matter. I know that the INI is an intermittent problem. It all happens during or due to a heavy rain. I feel like the city is getting the cart before the horse, possibly, and not doing baby steps. The first step I think we need to do is talk about the green tanks, inspect the bottoms of the green tanks, and cap lateral lines. I learned that this should have been done when ordered to do so by PCQ in the 80s, somewhere I think, I'm not sure. It should also add risers to the green tanks that's needed to ensure the lid is above the ground. I also think replacing motor pumps with a commercial grade pump with a grinder will help resolve some of the issues. If this doesn't resolve them, and the problems continue with numerous red lights going off and heavy rains, then I think we should direct our attention should be given to the main lift stations on the west side and possibly adding one to the east side. If the red lights continue only on a few residents, then the homeowner possibly needs to take action towards their septic tanks, evaluate and see what needs to be done. I know for myself, as I said before, I had my tanks pumped out, and it didn't work. The red light still came on. Sand dune came out, put a riser on it, still did. No more. It has not come on since. I know that replacing all the grinder pumps at one time could be expensive, but we could do it on a gradual basis with a commercial grade. And with the money from the certificate of obligations, that is dedicated for sewer. And this task could be accomplished without the burden on the homeowners if we took the small steps first. And I don't recall, but I think it's option 3 of, just doing the green tanks and getting them before we go all this other drastic measure. And that's all I have.
Next up, I have Mr. Mike Murphy. Mike, if you'll stand up to the podium, state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Mike Murphy. I live at 804 Shoreline Drive. I want to read a letter here. It says, "To the administration and staff of the city of Lakeside City, I want to congratulate you, one and all, for your performance both Thursday, September 17th, Wednesday, September 23rd, during the house compliance inspection from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Your professionalism and attention to detail came through loud and clear to the inspectors on the investigation team. Yet I am fortunate enough to witness this level of competency and commitment on a daily basis. The comments, no violations found, both last week from the sewer section and this week in the water section of the TCEQ inspection team, accurately tells the story of the care provided by the staff and administration in our wonderful city. Observations during their investigations describe our utility system for providing quality service to our citizens and residents at some of the best they have seen anywhere. Respectfully, signed Corey Glassburn, Mayor of Lakeside City." I don't have any issue with any of those comments. That brings me to my comments. If this is the case, as the letter states, I don't know why we're in such a hurry to dive into having everyone's septic tanks pumped out and inspected. I've heard discussions at the Sewer Task Force Committee that they think part of the problem is lateral lines. If we cap off all the lateral lines and sewage backs up into people's houses like that, who's going to be liable for that? Also, having I&I in your system, and I understand we have a problem, I&I, I'm not disputing that, but it's not just unique to Lakeside City. Lots of cities have problems in heavy rains with their sewer system and I&I. So probably need to talk to some of those, and maybe they already have. And I've not heard of a set time frame on how often this is going to be done. When a septic tank is pumped out, I've heard discussions, but before we go forward with this, I think we're going to have we need to have some kind of set time frame. Is it going to be 3 years, 5 years, 1 year, 2 years, or what? And then if we do all this and we still have an I&I problem, well, we spent probably $250,000 total out of this. That's just my estimate. I could be wrong on that. But if none of this works, we do the works package, and we still have I, what do we do then? And I'll second most of what Mr. Bradshaw said. If we're gonna do this, then we have money set aside for the certificates of obligation to pay for this. And so it ought to be paid for out of the certificates of obligation funds. And I've come to a few of the sewer task force meetings, and I think they've done a good job. But there's lots of questions that, and maybe they'll be addressed, of just how are we gonna proceed on this? Now, are we gonna do a piecemeal thing? Like I said, I second most of what Mr. Bradshaw said. So that's my questions. I'm just worried we're gonna spend a whole bunch of money here, and what if it doesn't work? And I don't know if it was ever addressed. If we ran a line to Wichita Falls, and I think Eric has said that our average meters out at our lagoons is about 45,000 a day. Is that my time?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
So is it possible that we could run a line to Wichita Falls, and when we have a rain, put the system back over to the lagoons, so we're not sending a bunch of fresh water to Wichita Falls and being charged for that? I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I can respond with a statement of fact on that. I think every one of your questions, if you would go back, every one of the sewer task force meetings is online on our YouTube channel. So are all of our council meetings. If you would go back and watch every one of the sewer task force meetings, I think every one of your questions would be answered, and answered the way you're looking for answers.
Appreciate it.
Next up, I have Mr. Larry Sturgis, 613 Royal. Larry, please stand up to the podium. State your name and address, please.
My name's Larry Sturgis. I live at 613 Royal Road. First of all, I'd like to thank the city council for their support of the sewer task force and trying to resolve this issue that we are occurring. And I'd like to thank all the committee members and their input and data. The number one issue that I have is the issue we had last time we had a meeting with this individual, that he took documents that was not his to take. We told him it was not. Scott, the chairman, said, we need them back. He said, okay, he wouldn't give them back. Then we finally convinced him to give them back. That was private information. This individual has done this before in meetings. He has caused us to submit documentation about some kind of money that's being taken by the city council. We advised that individual that individual, we had no power, no authority. We are advising committee to the city council, and the city council makes the final decision. We would not get involved in it. But this has been ongoing, and this should not be done. The chairman, Scott, gave everybody who was at the meeting when the meeting began 5 minutes to discuss anything they wanted to discuss, but that was never brought up. Then individuals started talking. A lot of the questions could be answered if they watched the video, but it looked like a lot of them are not watching the video. The questions about the II, why are we so concerned? Reason why on the committee is you need data. Data is your number one key for getting money to put anything we want to do for the city. You can't just say, I want a request for X amount of dollars without data. The II for cleaning the sewer out, seeing where we stand is very important. And it's the baseline of what everything we do. You've got to have a beginning baseline. We do not. The city of, the Brazos committee that we talked to about getting loans, they told us what loans to provide, but that they needed the data. They would bring in engineers to help us, but we have to get some kind of data. for there. That's what we're doing right now. That's what's the septic tank cleaning out, that's what the capping of the line. Once we get that data beginning October 1st that we're trying to get, we can start submitting applications. This application starts in March for these loans. And you have to have your survey, you have to have your loan writer, and all this stuff has to be done beginning of March. Right now, we have zero data. We have people that we don't know what they're doing. And by us doing that, we have to make sure that we are providing our citizens with the best information and the best support to the city council so they can provide the best answer for the citizens. The question about running the city of Wichita Falls line, we've already discussed that. It's about $1.5 to $1.8 million plus a yearly fee. And that yearly fee can go up is whatever they want. So that's not an option. Nobody talks about how we're gonna get that money. By having the data, we can start applying for grants. And thank you again for your support.
Thank you.
And then last item, Mr. Tyler Reddick. Please stand at the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Tyler Rennick. I live in 88 Edgewater. So well, first of all, I want to thank City Council. Came home from New Mexico and I've got a really sweet road right in front of my house now. Appreciate it, guys. So this isn't actually the way I was going to talk about this, but I heard a comment a minute ago that says, why are we in a hurry? This problem has been getting kicked down the road for at least 2 decades. We had this problem when my grandfather moved here. I'm the 3rd generation to live here. It's been a problem since he's been here. It's a problem with my father living here. It's a problem now. I've got children and I don't really want to kick this down the road for them to figure out how to pay for this on their dime. It's gonna be an expensive problem to fix, but it's no different than owning a car or a business. You've got to handle business. I mean, there's a cost of being a homeowner, no different than if your roof gets blown off, you've got to pay part of it or all of it, and on your insurance. If you've got a water leak, you're paying for it. Well, we have septic systems. But we have septic systems that everybody in Lakeside City has a dog in the fight because the city, us as a community, treats the effluent water out of these tanks. This isn't an individual problem. I heard a comment about grinder pumps. Well, you don't put solid waste down your lateral lines in your septic system because they plug up. If you've got solid waste going in your lateral lines on a traditional septic system, you've got a problem. Well, we shouldn't have to need grinder pumps in drain tanks because the fact of the matter is solid waste should never be making it to the effluent water side. So we know we've got some problems where they come from. I-9. So we do have a number from, I'm a member of the sewer task force. We were given a acceptable number by the city engineer of what we should be looking at on I-9. And we are far outside of that. So that was part of our goal, was to look at where that was and the possible solutions we could present to the council to address that. As a citizen, I live here, my children live here, my father lives here. This was all done with the citizens of Lakeside Cities as a community. They're our community best interest. This isn't the city, our recommendations aren't the city trying to peel money out of each individual citizen's wallet. Everybody on the sewer task force is gonna have to pay these fees too. We're not immune from it, we're not exempt from it. As a matter of fact, I've got a foot of concrete probably on top of my tanks. It's gonna cost me a fortune to dig up. You know what? It's a cost of being a homeowner. And if I'm willing to take that, then everybody else should be willing to do their part and look out for their neighbor and contribute. And I think it's very selfish of a homeowner and a neighbor to want to put the rest of their neighbors in a position where they're having to deal with their problems because they won't handle their own business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last one.
That's the last one. I don't have any more.
Proceed on with the agenda. It's gonna be on the discussion and consideration of a proposal from the Sewer Task Force Committee in regards to awarding the contract for the RFQ. For meeting,
Scott, this is chairman of the sewer task force. This is your time to present. the
Oh,
proposal
okay.
for the Sewer task force.
Do I have a recommendation?
Oh, and I'm excused, Scott, that's some help.
I can stand up.
That's fine. No, you're fine.
It's been the recommendation of the sewer task force that there were 2 bids that were submitted. One fell short of being properly documented. And we voted and the recommendation went, I can't remember.
Lone Star
Lone
Wastewater.
Star Waste, yeah. I'm sorry, I just found out I'm your grandfather, so.
just your own. No, I agree. We opened the bids up here and they also what sort of supposed to be on documentation and what he was gonna do and not just numbers, but the whole package of things. So I agree.
Yeah, I was saying that, obviously, you know, we started this whole sewer task force committee months ago. We put applications out there, we put it on the website, we put it on the market. We had 10 gentlemen step up to the plate, do a fantastic job, done fantastic. One of them had to drop out. But every one of these questions that have come up, concerns, they're all citizens of Lakeside City, so it's not like some outside people are just saying, hey, here's what you should do. Every one of them is a citizen of Lakeside City. They've diagnosed it, with the fine tooth comb, looking at every option and the best thing possible, and they've tried to come up with the best thing. And this is really, in my opinion, one of the best quality things they've come up with. I know it's not gonna be pleasing to everybody, but it's one of those things, just as Mr. Ernst said, we're all homeowners, we all have septic tanks, and we all have to be somehow responsible. I will say that the city, no matter what, is gonna be responsible for the green tanks, just like always. Any costs incurred for the green tanks, the pumping of the green tanks, repairs on the green tanks, the risers, everything else, that's something that the city's gonna be responsible for. And we're prepared for that and are ready to start taking action as soon as we get reports back and data saying this is where you need to start, fix these, on and on with that. So I will say the city's prepared to pay for all those costs on the green tank, just like we always have. It's nothing new to where the green tanks have always been the responsibility of the cities.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
I think we're all in this together, so we're all living in the same Lakeside City, so we all have the same county address and everything, so we gotta figure it out together.
Yeah.
Make a motion to, anybody has anything to say, make a motion.
I make a motion to accept Lone Star on the RFQ,
Mr. Motion makes Rutledge.
You try that again?
Mr. Rutledge makes a motion. And a second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Can we, before our next meeting, have a workshop to start discussing ordinance and monies and how to pay for this?
Sure.
Okay.
When do you want to schedule this?
Well, we have 3 weeks before the next one, so maybe the week of the 13th or the week of the 12th.
Just have a workshop where you discuss exactly funding, where it comes out of and everything else.
Yeah.
I will state, I know it was brought up about money and certificate of obligation. Months ago, when we took the certificate of obligation out, there was a reason we took that amount of money out. There was stuff that we need to have done to the lagoons. Engineer looked at it and said, this is the estimated cost by the engineer. So that money was set aside and took out the certificate of obligation for those repairs to the lagoons. It states the certificate of obligation it is for the city. So if we do decide to change our mind and say, fine, we're not gonna do repairs to the sewer, to the lagoons and use it on this, that option is there. But I will say the sewer task force has weighed all that stuff in and looked into it and everything else. And one of the main reasons that we're wanting to get the I down and everything else is so we don't have to do more extensive repairs to the lagoons, and they will be easier to maintain once this I is down. So that's all I have.
Real quick, do you have those numbers again? I've heard them 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you, this last big rain, on an average day, we pump out anywhere from 45,000, 47,000 to when we pumped out this last big rain, we pumped out 312,000 gallons in one day. You can figure out what that is, that much more wear and tear on our infrastructure, our pipes, our lift station, everything else. And so, that's electricity cost, that much more of Sam and Kevin having to be out there irrigating, all that. So it's a big thing. If we're not gonna solve the I&I problem as a whole, there's nowhere we're gonna get down to where it's perfect. But if we can get it down even halfway, you can imagine what that's gonna do. And labor costs, electricity costs, wear and tear on equipment, stuff like that.
Just irrigating alone, you think we can keep up with? Because I know irrigating was nonstop.
No, yeah, so
Rains were like over.
135,000 gallons is what we're allowed to irrigate a day. So you're pumping 318,000 out there. You can imagine what that does. And then also, once it rains, we're not allowed to irrigate until all the land out there is not saturated in water. There's certain criteria we gotta meet. So usually, depending on heavy rain, it might be a week before we can get it. So then you're 7 days behind on irrigating. You can imagine how much more you gotta stay on top of things to do it. You know, Sam and Kevin have done a great job on it, but it's something that needs to be addressed. So,
Anything else?
Anything for a question?
I was supposed to sign up before, yeah, that was the question and answer. Okay, yeah, well, the next meeting, if you want to sign up and speak,
That workshop?
yeah, well, we'll post that. If you want to come speak of that, that'll be fine too.
So we're looking
Yeah.
at the 13th.
We could, well, anytime that week, just
okay,
since
I'll email you all, and I'll set a date. We'll do it just like we'll post it. Have it on the marquee sign and everything else.
Yeah, if they don't speak of that,
Yeah.
it's open. We don't anything, so.
That's all I have.
Good.
I don't have anything.
Appreciate everybody coming out, and so I appreciate them coming out, good, bad, or ugly. I mean, some with us, some are against us, we're all in this together. I mean, we're gonna get figured out, I promise you. We don't wanna take the cheap, easy way out, we wanna do it right, I promise you that.
And before you make a motion to adjourn, I'd encourage all the citizens here and everything else that have questions, reach out to either your council member or us there at City Hall. We'll be glad to answer any kind of questions or help you in any way you can. I would encourage you, I know there's a lot of false stuff going around out there and false information. I would definitely make sure you got the facts, reach out to council member, us there at City Hall, and go from there.
We're open book.
And all the videos are on YouTube.
Post it on the YouTube and on our
Go back
webpage.
and watch them. That means something.
Thanks for coming out, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
You never
second
took a
it.
vote. Did you vote?
Yeah,
Oh, did they? Yeah, did they go through a workshop?
You got real rain going on.
Rain.